It's my first time doing this, so forgive me if I'm a complete nervous wreck.
You don't have to be nervous, it's just us.
Awesome, thank you.
And no, we're not going to forgive you.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Okay, so, the reason why we're here, what happened was, on September 1st this year, Cody and I woke up to some pretty devastating news. We found out that his mom was in the hospital after a really bad accident. She was on life support and it wasn't really looking good. And a couple days later they took her off and she died. So that left him in a really rough spot. No idea how to comfort a kid who loses his mom at 14 years old, so I didn't really know what to do. So I just asked him to pick anything in the world. What do you want to do, man? And Cody's 14, doesn't really have a whole lot of interest in stuff yet. He doesn't really experience too much, but he loves football more than anything else in the world. So he wanted to go to the Seahawks game, and he picked the one for tomorrow. It's the Panthers. And the flight out here and hotel and game tickets are like $300 or something, and there was no way I was going to be able to afford it at the time. I was unemployed, so I just started a GoFundMe and put it on Facebook, and people just came through. It was amazing. I raised like $1,200 in a week, enough to get the plane tickets, the game tickets, and paid for most of the trip. So, yeah, people really came through. It was awesome. Yeah, and also for the last 4 years, I've been a truck driver. And for the first 2 years, I didn't really think much about doing what I'm doing now or what I was doing the last 2 years. But when I was in Terre Haute one night, I had to deliver till the next day late, and I thought I had a friend in Terre Haute, meet up and hang out with him. We went to the bar, did some karaoke, it was a blast. The next week I was in Toledo, did the same thing. And I just started doing that. I called it the Meet All My Facebook Friends Tour, and I met I think it was 113 people last year, just in different cities all over the country, meeting them and hanging out and doing all kinds of stuff. I went to conventions, because my job would give me not just free transportation, they would pay me to drive there. Because I could tell them I need to go to this city on this date, and they'd send me there, and I just met people all over, and it was just a blast. So the game was going to be on Sunday, so I figured I'm going to come out on Friday for a couple days and meet as many friends as I could while I'm out here. I hung out with 2 last night, you guys tonight, a couple more before the game tomorrow, and a couple more after the game tomorrow. So it'll be like up to 50 people by the time I get back Monday. Yeah, so that's awesome. Amber wanted me to speak here, and I didn't really know what to talk about. She told me to just tell us a story about when I used to be a Christian to an atheist now, and like the different cultures we have. Because from what I understand out here, most people are secular, right? It's odd to meet somebody who's a super hardcore fundamentalist out here. And where I'm from, it's the exact opposite. Everybody's Christian out there, and there's a lot of people who don't really believe too much about it, but nobody really calls himself an atheist. I do, but I'm like the odd man out when it comes to that kind of stuff. There are groups out there. There's 2 groups in Cincinnati called the Tri-State Free Thinkers and FIG, Free Inquiry Group. I hang out with them sometimes. They do protests. They protested the Ark encounter that was down in Cincinnati. Went to that. I toured the whole Ark with Eric Hovind, if you know who he is. And he's a dick, but he bought 20 tickets. That was like $800 for all that, so that was cool. And we did all that. David Smalley was there. David Silverman was there. Aaron Raw was there. Dan Barker. Yeah, it was a good time going to the Ark with all those guys. But anyway, when I was growing up, when I was 3, my parents got divorced, and my mom's dad, my grandpa, was always a Methodist minister his whole life. So I grew up with that side. My mom married into a family of very devout Catholics. And when I was 5, my dad had a come to Jesus moment. He was very hard into drugs and alcohol and was talking about committing suicide and all this, and he just cried out to Jesus and he got saved and quit everything, drinking, drugs, like on the spot. He hasn't touched anything since. When I was a kid, that was the most inspiring, awesome story I've ever heard. So I bought into it wholeheartedly. I was getting it from all 3 sides of my family. I went to church 3 or 4 times a week. I was very active in my youth group. I kind of took it really far because of my extreme type of personality. Like I was the kid on the playground with a Bible, preaching to kids on the playground. And I didn't really have like a following or anything. Most people just made fun of me. And that was great to me because the Bible says if you get mocked or made fun of in my name, the greater reward is. So bring it on. Bring all the hate and ridicule you can bring because you guys are going to go to hell and I'm going to be in the VIP room with Jesus.
Amen.
Okay, yeah. So as I got older and learned more about it and how Christians were supposed to preach the gospel, that was our main goal in life, is to bring people to Jesus, save as many people as we could. And that freaked me out because most people weren't as hardcore religious. Most people would say that they believed in a God of some kind, but weren't really passionate about it. So I was terrified that almost everybody I know was going to go to hell.
Oh yeah.
So I made it my mission to preach and learn as much as I could to bring as many people as I could to Jesus. So I studied apologetics a lot to try to defend against like atheist arguments and stuff. And if you ever heard of Matt Dillahunty, he has a similar story. And like he says, it backfired spectacularly. One of the first things I did was I was in 9th grade and I had a speech class coming up. And one of the topics was a persuasive speech. You're supposed to persuade the audience about something. So my topic was, I'm going to prove that there's a God. This is once and for all, everybody's going to know. So I went to my church, and they were all gathered in a group, and I asked them, hey, I need you guys to help me out here. I'm going to have to prove there's a God in my school. And people just got real quiet and silent. Some people said, I've just always believed. I just know that there is. I'm like, yeah, I do too. We all know this, but I got to prove it. And nobody really came up with anything, and that pissed me off. Because I knew that I was right, and I knew that we were all right, but like it didn't discourage me, it didn't make me shake my faith or anything, but it frustrated me that nobody had anything. They had nothing to offer. So I just started like going to the library, getting books about apologetics, and I would try to learn atheist arguments and read atheist books to know what their arguments were so I would know how to beat them. And the more I learned, the more I started challenging my faith. Things just stopped making sense. It was just more frustrating than anything because I couldn't really come up with anything that was real concrete that couldn't be beat with better arguments. I did that for a few years, and then when I turned 18, I met Cody's mom and her dad, Cody's grandpa, and he doesn't really call himself an open atheist, but he totally is. He never believed, and that was like my first real challenge. I was bound and determined to save this guy. And he would ask me, well, how do you know that yours is the right religion? And I'd be like, well, obviously. I mean, I know it is. Everybody knows it is. And so I would go on a mission to try to save this guy. And I would just get deeper and deeper into it and just keep digging a bigger and bigger hole because there just aren't any good arguments for Christianity. There are some that, like apologetics, William Lane Craig, Dicks like that. Their arguments suck, but they sound convincing to people who don't really care to challenge them. And that's what I was all about. I was all about finding the truth, and that's where my allegiance always lied. I wanted to be as honest about it as I could. So when things started to crumble in my head, trying to rationalize my faith with like science and truth and logic, I had to decide, what am I going to do here? Am I going to hold on to this faith that I believed and it's been part of my life the whole time? Or am I going to give it up? Am I going to go with what is actually true? And since my allegiance always lied with the truth, I had to give it up. It was like a 7-year process, and I would like to think that I'm still in that process trying to seek truth. If there is a good argument for Christianity, I'll listen to it, I'll hear it out, listen to what they got. But so far it's the same old, tired, rehashed shit over and over and over again. They got nothing new. They haven't had anything new in 1,000 years. Just the fact that the debate is still going on, it just doesn't make any sense that an all-knowing, all-loving God who wants us to go to heaven wouldn't offer up any kind of tangible, real, concrete evidence.
Amen.
Yeah.
Amen.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, and I would start to think about these things, about like if God knows the future, that pretty much negates free will, right? Like if God knows that you made it worse, Ange. If you have option A and option B, and God knows you're going to pick option B, you can't pick option A.
Right.
It would be impossible if it's already predetermined that way.
Certainly negates his free will.
Right. Yeah, and if God already knows everything, and He already knows that all these people are going to go to hell before they're even born, then they never had a chance. They're going through life and they're being born just to go to hell. And God has to know this if He knows everything, so why on earth would an all-loving God create people that never had a chance to begin with? Like, even Satan himself is a pawn. He doesn't have a choice in the matter if God already knows everything that's going on. He's not the evil guy. He's just playing along with God's perfect plan. And these things just never made sense to me. My grandpa was a theologian. He knew that I was curious about these things. He bought me a book called The Evidence That Demands a Verdict by Josh McDowell. Heard of that? Yeah. And I would read that. I was living with my dad, and he was really proud of me that I was trying my best to hold on to the faith. But it just never did deliver. And yeah, after a while, after about 7 years, which has been about 6 years now, I just admitted to myself that I'm an atheist. I don't believe it. And then suddenly I found that I have a lot to make up for. Because back when I was a hardcore Christian, it was not only that, I was among the worst people in the world. I was very conservative. I listened to Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity at work every day. Very homophobic and racist. Just the worst person. I'm ashamed of it. Not something I'm proud of. So I've been working my ass off every day since then, trying to make up for that. So now I've got myself into activism pretty hard. That's what I spend all my time doing, all my free time. If I'm not at work or if I'm not hanging out with Cody, I'm at an atheist convention, a meetup. I organize my own sometimes. I did the Atheists of Facebook online convention. Amber spoke at the first one with that. I had 2 more since then. I started a podcast called Adamant Atheism. I'm trying to make a run for city council, but my online persona is probably going to screw that all up. But it's not going to stop me from trying. I'm still going to give it a shot. And
Hey, if Trump can, you can.
that's the only thing that's keeping me going. If the guy who says grab him by the pussy can get elected, I mean, I tell some pretty explicit, pretty hardcore stories online, but it's always consensual. There's no break. I don't violate anybody that doesn't want to be violated.
So maybe you need to start violating people. So
But that's not me, though. I'd rather lose the election.
Not for the last 6 years.
Right. Yeah, right. Not the last 6 years. So where I'm growing up now, it's in the Midwest. It's in Cincinnati. There's churches everywhere. I think within a mile radius, there's 7 churches from my house. The 2 mile radius is probably 20. There's not many open atheists, but I am. I use the term militant atheist. I have a license plate that says atheist. It has a 3 for the E because the atheist was already taken. So Cody calls me the atheist now. Yeah. So yeah, since then I've just been pretty active in the political atheist community, and that's what I do now. So pretty much my story. If anybody's got any questions, that's cool. If not, I guess that'll wrap it up. What's up?
How do you get a lot of pushback from Christians that basically want to bury you in the deepest hole they can find?
In my family, especially on my dad's side, there used to be that. But not so much anymore, because they know that I'm so, I don't blow my own horn or anything, but well versed in apologetics and Christian arguments. Is what I've put my whole life around. And that they know that there's nothing they can say that can take me out. And I know that there's a lot of atheists in my family who can't be out about it because they would be ostracized from the family. It's just weird going to family functions, seeing these 2 people that I know don't believe, but they both don't know each other believe. Because they can't be out because the family would not want them to be around. So I don't get the pushback as much anymore. Every now and then it'll come up, and I'll have the conversation with anybody, but it's pretty easy to find out whether or not a conversation can actually be had. Just within the first few minutes. I'll always ask somebody, we can have this conversation. But is there anything at all I could possibly say that would change their mind? And if they say, no, you can never change my mind, I'm like, all right, the conversation's over. This is a pointless discussion. But if they're willing to hear me out and we can exchange ideas, sure, I'll talk to them all day. Yeah.
Can you tell the story of how the atheist community tried to bury you online?
Oh yeah, that's
Which time?
Oh, the group. Yeah.
I wanna hear
the
that
group.
story.
Yeah.
Oh! Last year in
I believe this was
November.
my fault, by the way.
Let's see, what was that? Yeah. Yeah, I was approaching the 5,000 friend limit on Facebook, and I didn't want to go through all 5,000 of them and delete it to get it down. Once you get to 5,000, you can't get anymore. So I just wanted to like get rid of the dead weight, people who don't interact or anything. And rather than do that, what I did was I tried to post a series of super offensive posts to get people to delete themselves. And that really didn't work out, so Amber suggested, add a bunch of people to a group. That'll surely do it. So a different friend of mine created a group called Blowjobs, Blowjobs, and More Blowjobs. And I started adding people. And I was going through my entire list, adding every single person.
It was being Angela Abrams, one of the very first.
Right. She was in it, Amber was in it. And I spent hours trying to add everybody. And when I got to the J's, there was probably over 1,000 people in there, and the group started to take off. People started posting crazy shit in there. I think some people started posting like underage kids and shit.
No, nobody did. Nobody
sure?
posted it. Yeah, absolutely. There was
That was the
one
rumor.
hentai
Oh,
looking.
yeah,
There was
yeah.
one hentai looking. It might be an underage person, but there was no underage anything.
And Japan
Yeah.
says that's legal, so.
Right, so it started
It's a Japanese.
If there's no
But
tentacle,
you know, they like
if
big young girls.
there's no tentacle, it's just that's what you
Tentacle porn.
Yeah, so it started getting out of control with people having fun in this group and adding all kinds of crazy shit that I was completely unaware of because I wasn't in the group. I didn't even start the group. I was just adding people into it. So once I started getting down to the J's, Facebook let me know that I had caught a 3-day ban for this group that had all this porn in it. So I'm like, holy shit. So now I can't even post on Facebook. I can't put anything on there. And some guy, I don't even know who the hell it was, wrote a post that I started this child pornography thing online, and that I was this pedophile. And there was nothing I could do online because I couldn't get on Facebook, so I'm just watching people post all this shit about me. It just started taking off like wildfire.
Which you deserved.
I don't know about that. But Amber got my back, and she posted that that's not true. I didn't start the group. I didn't post anything in the group. I was just adding people to it. So I guess I was sort of subjecting people to porn. It was, I fucked up. It was a bad move on my part. I shouldn't have done it. But yeah, a lot of people in the atheist community heard the rumors that I was a pedophile, pushing child porn, and it just about ruined me.
And believed it without evidence.
Yeah, nobody cared to look it up, to verify the claims.
Shockingly.
Yeah.
They just ran with it. I found that a lot online. If there's a story like that where you can bury somebody, people just, like a pack of wolves, jump on it. And yeah, but luckily I was vilified, and
Alright, did it help you with your friends list though? Did you
I
get that
lost
other
about 200.
Oh,
That's it.
But a lot of them were good friends though, who just heard this shit. So I lost a lot of good friends. It was a big mistake on my part, and I'll never do that again.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's on me. It was a lesson learned.
I need to scroll through the list and look for the blank icons.
Yeah, that's what I'll do now.
Yeah. That's
Right.
what I do.
Yeah, because I'm approaching. I think I'm like 40 friends away from hitting 5,000, so I got to like take a couple days to.
I stayed
Yeah. go through and do that.
You're
I
gonna
stayed
have
right
to
at the
clear out again.
5,000.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. I just had everyone to a group that's called People Who Love Nickelback. And
That'll do it.
No, I don't mess with groups at all anymore. I never have good-looking groups. It always ends up backfiring, so I don't even mess with groups at all.
That's brave.
You can't say
Oh,
Anybody else?
that.
Other questions?
I'm gonna have to add you to the podcasters group.
I'm in the
There we
podcast
go.
group.
Are you? Did I add
Atheists
you?
and No.
Atheist Skeptic Podcaster?
Yeah, I think Callie might have added me.
Alright.
Yeah, I'm in the group.
Okay. I do the approvals, so. Alright.
Yep.
I must have. Fuck it, I guess.
Yeah, it's been like back in, I think, May when I started my
I
podcast.
guess. Shit.
Yeah, I've been in there. I haven't made an episode since July. I really need to start revamping that because it's a fun podcast. It got a lot of attention, especially with that Ark encounter. I think it was like my 7th episode. Had like 800 downloads, I think. So it built up pretty quick. If I would have kept with it, it would be pretty popular by now.
That's great for the early.
The birthday blowjob / sex story, that'll be good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my son's downstairs. You want?
Yeah, I can't really tell those in person.
Yes,
When I put those online, it takes me days to craft the whole story and get it down and write it out. And telling it in front of a group, it wouldn't be as effective. Check my wall. Scroll through my Facebook. Everything I put
Adam
is public.
Collins, out of my Facebook.
Yeah, everything's public that I
Get
write.
out
Just
your phones right
scroll
this
through
moment.
it.
One of those first gets to laugh at you trying to tell it.
Yeah, that's all right. But thanks.
I got a question.
Sure.
Where are you sitting tomorrow?
You what now?
Where are you sitting tomorrow?
Standing room only.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Very top in the very back. The worst seats in the house, I think the tickets were like $270 each.
Oh,
So
we
you're
better
at the-
get something for those seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, like, there is a view that I've seen
Is it
from up there,
north
and they look really good, but it's
Oh, yeah,
still in the
It's
stadium.
gonna be
Is it
cold.
north end?
Yeah.
Do what?
North end, or do you know?
I'm not sure.
You bring about binoculars, right?
We
I don't have
sat,
binoculars. I think
I got blank.
we sat up there. This,
That
it's
could like-
probably gonna be wet
Yeah.
tomorrow, but
right. Yeah, we brought rain coats.
you never know.
Go,
We
Katie.
brought rain gear and hat and all that shit, and it was, we had sun. This was in like, this was the 49ers game
Because,
last
you know,
year.
you can get
Yeah, we
a
paid
seat for nothing.
a lot.
$20 still.
Got sunburned.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah, we'll come prepared.
Okay, let's all just get up and mingle and have a good time. Thank you so much, Adam,
Thank
for
you.
coming.